go out there and figure out what's the first step and do that. Just take action and just it's brick by brick and just start. Set aside some time. If you're gonna say I'm gonna do it, I mean, I would if you aren't doing anything else, spend 8 hours a day. But if you're doing another job, spend 4 hours a night, spend 2 hours a night, but just dedicate that time just to deep work, like focusing on like make a rough draft of like what do you need to do, what do you need. Like I took an Excel sheet and I was like, okay, I need to create a thumbtack profile. I got to create a website. I gotta get the license. I got like and just start to chip away at that list. It's really that easy, and it's gonna turn into what it's gonna turn into. And if you fail, that's okay. And honestly, like the more I think about it, it's like you have more and more failures as you grow, and your part of your job just becomes like pivoting all the time and like solving problems.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got someone who's only 27 years old, doing big things with his business, managing an entire team, going through all the ups and downs and all the learning lessons as a 27-year-old entrepreneur. He is the founder and president of Master Roofing, Inc. I got my man, Quinn Schilz, in the building. Quinn, welcome to the show, brother.
What's going on, Rich?
Dude, appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a long time coming. I know you're right up the road in, is it Newport Beach or Costa Mesa? You got your office?
Costa Mesa, we got our
Costa
office.
Mesa.
Yep.
Love that area. I would say if I lived in Orange County, dude, I would be in Newport Beach. I like Huntington as well. Good stuff going on over there, man. But dude, I'm curious, man, because I'm 40. And I know what it's like running a business, managing a team and, all the fires that you got to put out, all the problems that you got to solve every single day. Every single night, because I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people that aren't really in the game, they think everything's smooth and easy and they think, oh, it must be nice. But it's like, no. Behind the curtains, behind the scenes, when you're in it, and I know you're in it because you got your own office, you got your team, you got your podcast studio set up, and you're only 27. What is it like operating a business as a 27-year-old?
Did you say that? But you see these guys on Instagram, they're like 18 and they were driving a Bugatti and a Rolls Royce, right? So it's hard to know like what's real and what isn't, right? But I mean, I don't really think about the age at all. I think I started working and getting into like the business world, I think, as a teenager, and kind of put myself in those rooms because I wanted to create some success in my life. So I think in the early stages, I was very focused on my age and like how people are, because I was trying to do multi-million-dollar real estate deals and put things together. And at that time I was like, I'm gonna hire an actor who's older than me to be the face, and I'm gonna like do this. That was how I had how insecure I was about my age. Now I don't think about it. I just know what needs to be done, and business isn't about age, it's just about results.
Yep. How big is your team?
Right now we have 20 employees on payroll.
Okay. And how many of those folks are out in the field doing sales and installing roofs versus being inside an office?
So we have a team of probably about 5 in the office. It's me, my right hand, director of operations, finance, marketing. We have like 3 girls on the phones in the front. And then we have a sales manager in the office. And that's pretty much like our in-house leadership team. Out in the field, we have like a superintendent, a guy with like 30 years of experience who mainly just manages the guys and their schedules, make sure jobs are getting done, quality control, checking on subcontractors. Most everything's done in-house, but there's those one-off things that we subcontract, but we still would micromanage those subs just like if it was our own crew. And then we have, our installers and our tear-off guys. And then we have our sales team. So right now we have about 4 sales guys. Probably now that the rainy season is here, we're interviewing and we're constantly hiring. There's a lot of opportunity with us in the trades. And so we're going to be bringing on another 4 reps. We're going to have a team of 8, but we're always recruiting and always trying to find new talent.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say as the founder, you're always working on the problems in the business, right? The departments and the arms of your business that are operating great and working, you're not going to spend time working on those things because they're working. You're going to focus on the low-hanging fruit, the constraints, solving the bottlenecks. And so we're always fixing the shit within the business. But at the same token, you got to always identify your highest and best use. And so, I think for me, for example, my highest and best use is going to be, doing media, doing content, leading, also raising capital. I would say that the ability to raise and multiply capital is the highest value skill in the world. Building relationships, networking with all the people that are in our communities, the brokers, our lenders, everyone that's wrapped around us, vendors, the team members, all that. That's my highest and best use. However, I spend a lot of time fixing and working on, the constraints. And so I'm curious for you, man, what is your highest and best use, and where do you spend the most amount of your time within your business?
Definitely the best use is thinking on expansion, building the business, right? All the low level problems that come up, a customer's complaining about something, there's an issue with permits, there's an inspector at a site that's not where all of those things my team can handle, right? If even if like a lawsuit comes in or there's a legal issue, we have a pretty good system in place where I don't have to be too much involved for those things, and I can focus on putting myself out there as far as marketing and content, right? Being out there with our sales reps and trying to bring money into the company also, leading from the front, showing them how to close deals, put money on the board. I think the best use of my time is finding out ways to expand and open new locations for Master Roofing, and to expand the business throughout Southern California, because we have a big goal. We want to get hit $10 billion by 2034. And so that's our 10-year target. And we believe that, you can, a lot of people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. And I've been in front of, Ken Goodrich, who sold Gettle Air Conditioning for $500 million to private equity, Ishmael Valdez, who sold Next Gen for over $100 million. And these guys are like the people I look up to, of like, how do I expand and how do I be like them? Tommy Mello, who A1 Garage Doors, he's still running that. I think they're over 600 million. So we say a $10 billion valuation and $1 billion in revenue. And I believe that's possible if we have the right team and we get into the right markets throughout the states and have the compliance, have the licensing in those places. And probably some of that will be like mergers and acquisitions of purchasing existing roofing companies that have kind of the structure and the bones, and then placing our systems and processes and our branding into those companies. And I see the vision, and I think that's my strongest suit, right? Is like seeing the vision, but there is so many things that just like get thrown at you. Like on the way here, like we have payroll due on Friday, and like, it's like we had to transfer money and stuff, and then the bank's calling me, and it's like, I'm like, I don't want to be dealing with this. It just should be handled. And then it got handled, but it's like all those little things. It's like, I'm always trying to think like, how can I delegate that to somebody in my team who is responsible, who can handle it? Or how can, like, I think Dan Martell, I see his picture right here. Like, you've had some amazing guests on your podcast, and I look up to you a lot in that regard.
Appreciate you, bro.
And
I love Dan, by the way.
and with him, like, he, in his book Buy Back Your Time, he talks about like, how you always should be like firing yourself from like those tasks. And like, as an entrepreneur, I try to remind myself, it's like I'm always supposed to be firing myself from like these tasks that are taking up my time, and finding somebody else. And Brandon Dawson from do you know
Mercer
Brandon
Grant.
Dawson? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the one who talks about like, I'd only show people things in my business once, and it's going to be if I'm training them on how to do it, and we're going to create an SOP so they know how to do it. But I don't want to do it again. I'm going to show them. I'm going to give them a structure. I'll give them a written template of everything they can do. But like, that's the only time I should be doing a task like that in my business. So all those little things, like, I try and keep in mind when you say like the highest and best use, but I get pulled into directions all the time. My like reality is like, I'll get into the office and I'll try and like organize. I'm very OCD. So I'll try and organize and be like, I organize my thoughts on a notepad and just kind of write out all the things that I know I need to get done. And then from there, try and execute like one by one. And then people come into the office and need things, and they bring problems into your office. There's this analogy, like they leave their monkey in your office, I think. And then I think that's from book Traction. They leave like they try and leave like their problem, and they have all these monkeys jumping around in your office. And it's like, you really want to have the person come in with their problem, find the solution, and then go out with the problem. And so it's hard. It's hard to do it, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, that's a good book, by the way. Suggest all listeners to go out and read it. The book Traction by Gino Wickman, and talks about EOS and running it as an operating system for your business. We actually adopted EOS about 3.5 years ago, and I got a business coach, Rick English.
I worked with him.
Oh, you did? Nice. Yeah, also a member of Seven Figure Creator, and dude, he's awesome. But I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. And so, I think when you get into business, real estate investing, I mean, I was a 11-year air traffic controller. And so when I first started learning about real estate, I'm reading books, I'm listening to podcasts on Bigger Pockets, but it's all strategy of like how to analyze a deal, how to get lending, how to, get into a deal, how to source the right markets to be in, approach your buy box. But they don't teach you business architecture. And when I see other people online, I always kind of know if they're really in the game by seeing like if they actually have their own office, if they actually have their own team, they have employees. Because there's a lot of people online that are talking the talk, but unless I see that they have their own team members and I see they have their own office, I'm like, you're not really walking the walk, because it's a whole nother ball game when you have to manage personalities, hiring, firing, right people in the right seats, setting weekly KPIs, not just for yourself and your business, but weekly and monthly KPIs for all the different arms, departments, team members within your business. There's a lot more intricacies baked in that make it a lot more complex when you're really in the game. And so that's kind of one of the things that I look at when I see people online to determine, because you said, you don't know who's legit and who's not these days. A lot of people are showing the fancy cars, they're showing the nice stuff, the watches, but I'm like, okay, do you have a team, and do you have an office and like all this payroll? Because that adds a lot of responsibility, a lot of accountability that a lot of people don't look at.
And I see you have a massive team here. I mean, you're working on a lot of things, right? Because you have Summers Capital, right? You have your coaching and helping people. What does everyone do here?
So yeah, my business is four arms. So the first arm is the media, podcast, social media. Without the media arm, we don't have a business. It drives 85% of all of our leads. And right now we're averaging about 24 million views a month across all the different channels and platforms, just posting organic content. The second arm is Summers Capital. So we have retail investors. We give them passive income tax benefits. We deploy that capital to acquire boutique hotels along the West Coast. And the third arm is Summers Collection. That's our hospitality brand. That's on-site staff, front desk, housekeeping, maintenance at all the properties, our team of VAs, driving 5-star reviews, guests checking in, checking out, building the brands of the hotels. And then the fourth arm, it all wraps around, the fourth and final arm is the community, right? And we have the hotel investing community where we help people buy hotels. We currently have 53 hotels owned amongst our members, and about 130 members now. And then we have Seven Figure Creator, which you're a part of. It's all about building a personal brand. That's, a room of 125 business owners, real estate investors that are committed to scaling their personal brands through social media, podcasting. And ultimately, we talk about how to monetize that attention to get more leads for your business. So it all kind of wraps around. But as far as what my team does, dude, we got, marketing. Lauren just got promoted. She was my EA, and she got promoted to chief of staff. And so she's kind of like my number two. Alex Johnson's our director of investor relations. So she works with the investors, does, onboarding with them, distributions, reporting, all that sort of stuff. And then we have our media. I got 2 media personnel full-time here in the office, dedicated to just chopping up content and really getting all the views, which drives a lot of our leads. And then we have our hospitality director, Star, and we have our operations director, Michael. They both came in earlier this year, beginning of this year. And I made the pivot to really go heavy hotel experience with my operations staff on the Summers Collection side, as we kind of really look to scale the hotel side. So that's kind of a gist of what the leadership team kind of looks like here. And then we have Megan, of course, who's our marketing director. She's doing influencer stays at every single hotel, does all our email marketing, all that sort of stuff.
And I love how you have like strong women at the top of the organization. My director of operations, Helen, she's badass. She runs everything and gets it all done.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I have a couple guys on the team, but what I've found, like hiring guys in the past, is that I feel like the women are way more loyal. They work harder. They are way more attentive to like small details. They're less sensitive. I feel like a lot of guys come in, they have egos, and they can be sensitive to criticism. And Pace Morby talks about this too. Like his team is 90% female as well. It just, for the most part, I think they work harder. This is generally speaking, of course. I think they work harder.
Who's
They're more
Pace?
loyal. Pace. Pace is a real estate investor buddy of mine out of Phoenix. And he does a lot of subject to financing and real estate. And good dude. Building a big thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I agree with that. I've seen that in my team as well.
Yeah, the female thing.
Yeah, as far as like exactly the female thing, but it's true with maybe the loyalty, the attention to detail. And I have had I don't think it's maybe like a sex thing, men or women, but it's more in general. Like I've just had a lot of great experience with really strong women in my company that have just helped take me to new levels, and they have that drive and that passion and that dedication and that attention to detail that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So one thing I will say about the roofing thing, which I do love, is, I think I always say, people ask me stocks or real estate, right? And I always say, like, I don't really understand how stocks work. I don't really understand how crypto works. It's paper assets, and it's like, what are you really buying? You're buying a ticker symbol. But real estate, on the other hand, it's a real tangible asset. You can go look it, you can touch it, you can feel it. Real people live in these properties. Real guests go and stay at these hotels. This building that we're recording this podcast in, for example, is a 140-year-old building. You can see the original brick and the arches behind you. This building was built in the 1800s, and it was they did industrial work here, and they would manufacture goods and products, and they would ship it down or roll it down to the ships down here, and then also the train tracks right behind us. But 140 years later, this building is still bringing in income. It's now office space, right? We have our podcast studio here, our office here. It's still bringing in income. And so I always say the one thing about real estate I love is it's evergreen. There's never going to be a replacement for the basic need of shelter. And these buildings will be around a lot longer than I'm alive, right? And so that's what I love about real estate. I can understand how the business model works. And so one thing I love about what you're doing with the roofing, and you mentioned some of these other businesses within real estate, it's like, heating and cooling, electrical, plumbing, all these other arms around the real estate business are never going to go anywhere. They're evergreen because people are always going to need these services ongoing. So I love that about the roofing thing. But how did you pick roofing?
So, dude, it's funny you say that, because roofing is like all the other home service, is something that's very overlooked. But during COVID is when it really proved. It's not the first time that private equity went into in the home improvement space, but it's where people really saw the need for it. And I think that's I'll get into my story of how I got into it, but basically you see during all these acquisitions from private equity and all types of home service businesses during COVID, because those businesses were still running. They were still operational. People were still working. Roofs were still leaking. Pipes were still bursting in people's houses. Electrical, you're building a house, it's not going to stop because of a pandemic. It's still going, right? And so it was, what do they call it? Like a necessary, a needed work during that time. So I started in real estate. So I finished high school early, like 2 years early, graduated, did an online school, went to Pierce College, community college, got my diploma. And then I went straight into real estate brokerage. I went around to 20 different offices around my house, and I said, hey, I want to learn. I want to work for free. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read a few other books, and I said, I don't need to go to school to make money. I need to be around people and network and learn and duplicate what they're doing. And so I started working at a small brokerage with the president of that company. She had about 40 agents. And her ex-husband owned WSS Shoe Store, which I think he sold it for almost $1 billion recently. And so I think they were divorced. She was raising the kids, but this was like her business. That she was big during the REOs, had billboards up during 2008. She was a big agent. She created her own agency, and so I learned from her. Her name was Diana Lon. I learned, real estate. I learned business. I was always around her, so I started making the deals, firing people, bringing people in to hire them, delegating stuff to her team, and so I first started there. Then fast forward, I started working for a few different investors in-house, finding them deals. They would do teardowns, rebuild. Ended up getting into medical device sales and like anti-aging, things like that. Got really good at it. Did that for a couple of years. That's where I really learned sales. I think I would have been a great real estate agent. My wife always says that, if this didn't work out, I see you as like a big real estate agent. But I didn't have that sales skill yet. I didn't learn it's a skill you need to learn. You can be a natural born salesman, but there's a skill to it.
And you did high ticket sales for Manny Koshman.
Yeah. So
how did you get hooked up with Manny?
So when I was 13, 14, he released his book called the Contrarian Playbook, Your Guide to Build Your $100 Million Real Estate Portfolio, or something like that. And I devoured that book. I was like so interested in it, and because I would follow him. I followed him on Instagram. Instagram was probably earlier on at that time, but he would always post like his house in Newport Coast and his multiple Bugattis, multiple Rolls Royces, and this was like, I grew up without a lot of money, with a single mom in a small apartment, all four of us, and I was like aspiring to that. And so I wanted to figure out how he did it. So I read the book, and essentially he talked about how breaking down every asset class, from residential to multifamily to 4 units, 8 units on that side, then into commercial, industrial, retail, office space, like everything. And basically said how he started with his first deal with basically no money down, FHA loan, and then grew into over $100 million. He bought a lot during the crashes and they went up, and he just built wealth that way. He was probably already like around 50 years old at the time. So, and then he was also doing the social media, but he wasn't selling any courses or doing anything like that. Later down the road, he ended up, I wrote him a letter. So I wrote him a letter thanking him for his book and like basically, asking to connect and looking for a mentor when I was like 14. Never responded to the letter. I don't even know if it got to him. But I went on Google to see like where his office was. Fast forward, we went, I moved to Orange County and I was working there. I started doing home improvement sales and roofing around that time, a little bit before that. And then I saw how nice Orange County was. And I was like, I want to live here in Irvine, Newport area. So then I moved out to OC. And during that time, I was like, hey, maybe I can work for Manny somehow. Maybe I can get involved. I want to open that. Cause what I realized is if like you want to be like somebody, you need to get around them. You need to like figure out like what they're doing. What are they actually doing? Not their content necessarily, right? But like where you need to be next to that person. So I found out who his assistant was by like stalking him online and stuff. And I reached out to the assistant in the DMs and I said like, hey bro, like, I don't remember. I started building a relationship with him. We hung out a few times, built a little bit of friendship. I told him that I know Manny. I want to work with him. He got me an interview. And then basically that's how I got connected. And then I got the job. I wanted to work with him in his in helping him find deals as an agent and like be part of all of that. But he had the Contrarian Academy, so I'm like, sure, whatever I can do to be around him. So I was working in his offices, worked at Contrarian
He's in
Academy.
Newport Beach.
He had a building. I mean, he lives in Newport Coast. He had a building in Costa Mesa at the time, or Irvine, I think, right next to John Wayne Airport. He had a building that he owned, and then he had like a mortgage company upstairs and like his garage downstairs. And so we were like upstairs in like a flex space he had up there. And so we were doing the high ticket
So his
sales.
garage with all his cars, is that his office?
Yeah. So every building the guy buys, like he renovates and puts in like white tile and then puts like white cylinders and puts the lighting and then he parks all his cars in there and he puts a desk in there. And that's how he does it. So and then it's like his own private. I went into his office. He was nice enough to sit down with me and go over my finances and give me a plan of like how I can, do everything one-on-one meeting, which was really cool to me to experience that, like, being younger and him spending the time with me and all that. But yeah, his office is like desk in the middle of like a huge garage and I'll have like all his whips right there. It's sick.
So the cars are not at Newport Coast, his house. They're at the office.
So from when I was working with him 4 years ago, he had all the cars pretty much at the office, and then I think at his house he probably had another couple. I mean, he had like a 10-car garage at his house too. So the guy has a lot of cars.
Yeah. And so he built his wealth through what asset class? Was that shopping centers primarily?
So
Retail?
So basically, because I used to sell his course, so I know the timeline. So I know that he immigrated here from Iran with his family. They were living out of the car for a little while. Like he had like a rough start. Went to Kmart, was like, became like a manager there. Then from there worked at a tire shop. Then he started selling nuts door to door. He opened a mortgage company. That's where he thought he was going to make his money. Mortgage company didn't work out. Then he ended up opening a grocery store, like a 99-cent store. And it was like a Food for Less came down the street. So ended up like having, I remember in the book he talks about like he would have to go in the morning to actually take the money to cover the next day. So going to the bank twice a day to like have enough funds to cover like so it wouldn't go overdrawn. Finally sold that business. Once he had some money, his landlord of his business say, hey, you should get into real estate. And then he took that money and he bought his first I think he started with like single family. Then he bought a little retail shopping center in Santa Ana. I don't remember the story exactly, but I think there was something wrong with how they sold it to him. So the old seller had to fix things. Then he still had it at the same price, but he made $1 million on that deal profit. So he went to his bank and was like, printed the receipt, saw the actual $1 million, and then rolled it into office buildings. He did a lot of commercial with industrial and office, from what I understand. And he did it not just he did it in Houston, Texas, throughout the United States. Like he talks about in his book, like if you're not in a good market, there's so many other markets out there. that you can always find deals in, which, dude, you're in the real estate business. Like, you guys have properties in Tulum, right? So it's like, it's not like you're just looking in San Diego, what's around here. It's like you're looking all over the planet.
We're primarily very hyper focused on California coastal in areas that are supply constrained, but every now and then a deal will come through a personal relationship that's too good to pass up. So Tulum, personal relationship, but we bought a deal in Lake Chelan, Washington through a relationship we have with one of our bridge lenders. They fund a lot of our deals. We have a really good relationship with them. And so they foreclosed on a really nice asset up there. They came to me in November of 23. They said, yo, Rich, we got to get this deal off our books. We could sell it to you for a discount. Do you want it? And so, those types of deals we'd be dumb to pass up on. And so that's why we'll go outside of California if it's like a deal that's like, through a personal relationship. But for the most part, we're very hyper focused on California. What did you learn with high ticket sales? Because that's, something that I always say sales is the number one skill that you can learn. And high ticket sales is a different beast from, real estate sales or car sales, selling cell phones, that type of thing.
The truth is, if you're a business owner or real estate investor and not putting out content, it's going to be hard to compete in 2026 and beyond. I started building my personal brand 3 years ago from scratch, and since we've gone from 4,000 to over 600,000 followers, and today we're averaging 24 million views per month across all the different platforms, and it literally drives 85% of all the leads for my business. This is why I started the 7-Figure Creator, a private community with 130 plus business owners and investors. We focus on how to scale your personal brand from social media, podcasting, and ultimately how to monetize all that attention to get more leads for your business so you can make more money and ultimately buy back your time. So if you're ready to take the next step, DM me on Instagram at Rich_Summers, DM the word action, and I'll send you all the details. Now back to the show.
So basically, very simply, if I didn't have my sales skills or what I learned from high ticket sales, I wouldn't have my company right now. I wouldn't be at this. I wouldn't be in this podcast right now.
Why do you say
that? I wouldn't be able to communicate with you this way because it's the sales skills, right? Is basically I'm telling this. I hire a sales rep, right? I'm telling them, hey, I want you to go and go to somebody's house that's expecting a free estimate, and I want you to walk out with a contract. That takes a skill set. Not everyone can do that. So I started it by being around the big numbers in real estate. So then when I went to the medical devices, it was easy to say 20K, 10K, 15K. It's easy to say, Manny Koshman, hey, it's only 60K. How much do you think you're going to pay your realtor on your first commission when you buy a house? Wouldn't it be worth it to invest in that from somebody who already has 30 years of experience? But it's not like I make it sound simple, but it's really like there's a ton of things in sales, right? You have to build rapport and connect, obviously, but you have to build value. You can't waste people's time because everyone's time is super valuable now, right? With the internet and everything, you have 10 seconds to really like build that relationship. And it's like, it's the high ticket sales is one of the best skills that I have. I was telling my wife, we went to volunteer with our church, they do a thing called Rooted where you meet other couples and groups and get involved. And we did like a serve experience. And after that serve experience, I realized that I feel so blessed because I don't think we would ever be in that position because of the sales skills. Like if this business didn't work out, or if I had to file bankruptcy or everything happened, I know that next month I can make us $10,000 or whatever just by going out and selling something for somebody else, just hustling.
Right.
And it started with when I was a kid driving down the street with my buddies. We'd see a TV on the side of the road when I was like 17. We put it in the back of our car. We'd list it on Craigslist, sell it for $100. We just made $100 out of thin air. But like, I feel like I learned my sales through all the experiences I went through. And I did training too. Like I paid for Cardone and all that.
What was the ticket that you were selling for Manny? How much?
I mean, he had, there's payment plans for everything. Right. But I think the highest ticket was like 75K.
Yeah. What was the bread and butter, the one that most people bought?
Probably they're anchored on the 75, but they probably buy like between 10 to 20.
Yeah.
A lot of small ones like 2K, 1K, small deals.
Yeah.
But Logan, who was running that for him, I think was like super sharp. Like he had built like, because Manny already had all the knowledge. Like if you read his books, if you like, all of it was there. So if you were to essentially read the books, you get the same knowledge, but they put it in video format and like sold it like in bundles of courses. And I think I think it was really the team he had was very strategic on how they did it, and it was very smart because people will pay, and also for the access to him at events, right? Because it would like different packages would include like so many hours with him per week, or whatever. So it was super interesting seeing the selling of courses.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool, dude. I love that, man. And I always say sales is the number one skill you can learn. I started selling cell phones in the mall here in North County, San Diego, when I was in college, 18 years old, and I was like literally sitting in a kiosk. And I remember, dude, like at that time, I was like pretty shy, and it didn't feel comfortable for me to just talk to strangers, but it forced me to get out of my comfort zone, because if I didn't say hi to strangers, I wasn't going to make any money. And so I got pretty good at that, and I became like one of the top sales rep there. And then some of my coworkers went on to sell cars for Nissan, Mossy Nissan here in San Diego, and they're like, dude, Rich, you should come over and work with us. You'll make a lot more money. So I went over and I started selling cars for Mossy Nissan while I was still going to college, and got pretty decent at that. And that was a whole nother skill, but it carried over a little bit. But those sales skills really set the foundation for like everything else that I'm doing today. And like you said, like everything in business, is sales. Like you're leading your team, you're raising private capital, you're negotiating real estate deals. That's sales. Convincing your team on the direction, or selling the direction of what we're going to go in right now over this next quarter, and getting everyone to row in the same direction at the same speed it's all sales. Even parenting, I'm not a parent, but asking your kid to clean the room, that's sales. And so everything we do is sales. Dating is sales a little bit too.
Have you 100%? Have you read Sell or Be Sold?
I have not. No, it's good.
I have all my sales reps read it when they start working with us. We have like an onboarding plan. They have to read four books in 4 weeks, and it talks about exactly what you're saying. It's like everything is sales. Like it's just you're convincing somebody else of your opinion, or they're going to convince you of theirs.
Do you have high turnover with your sales guys?
Crazy.
How long does most of them last?
6 months to a year.
6 months to a year. Okay. And what can,
unless they're not performing,
what can the good ones make?
So, okay. So just to preface that, I mean, I've had people that stay longer. I think that part of it is like building the business to have the right structure. When you're a growing company, you're still making pivots. Like there might be a change to a commission structure, there might be a change in pricing. So if you have an adaptive personality and you can trust the owner and their vision, then you can make it through those changes and do it. But if you're doing it one way and you think that's the only way and you're stuck, you're gonna run into a point where you start bumping heads. And somebody has to say, hey, this is the direction the company has to go in order for it to be sustainable. I think that's why we've had turnover with sales reps, not because of anything else, but just because we've had to make pivots and changes like we have had. But to answer your question, why I think there's the turnover, right, was the question. I think it's because of the fact that, especially with sales, it's just a high turnover role. Like Grant Cardone talks about, like he has thousands of applications all the time for sales reps, and they're cutting the 20% at the bottom all the time. So I mean, if he has 400 sales reps, I mean that's pretty high turnover, right? So I think it's just part of that department that it's going to be there. But you also want to have, we're really strong in our culture and our values, and when we bring people onto the team, we want them to see how they can grow with us and how they can be with us long term. Like our mission is to revolutionize the roofing industry by delivering trusted premium solutions to our clients while delivering a fostering growth oriented environment for our employees. So like from the beginning, just from our mission, it's like we want our company to grow, but we want our employees to grow with us, and we want our customers to grow with us, but both are at the forefront. And they're both a customer. If that's how you have to look at it. If you take care of your employees and treat them like a customer, then they'll take care of your customers.
Yeah. What's the average ticket that you guys are selling with the roofing? Ballpark, what is the typical customer for residential pay?
I would say average is probably 25,000.
25 grand, and that's like the general roof replacement for a single family home in your area?
Yeah, just think like a standard single family home.
About 25K.
Probably like 25K.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah, we're actually replacing this week a 10-room boutique hotel, a full roof replacement, and that's about 41,000.
I mean, the biggest job we've done so far was $500,000. That one was a storage facility, 50,000 square feet, and then we've done small repairs. We do like everything in between. But I mean, right now we're trying to break into government contracts.
Got it. Got it. And so how do you, I'm curious, like when you're reviewing your sales team, you know, a lot of folks like Grant Cardone, his sales team is on Zoom calls. They're all recorded. So it's very easy to monitor and critique. But you guys being out in the field, how do you review sales calls and the performance?
So Andrew, our VP of business development, he's sales manager. He'll go out and monitor, like he'll do ride-alongs and kind of gauge performance, kind of sit back and take notes. Just kind of be there with the customer and with the rep so we can see what they're saying. We have a documented sales process that it's like a checklist they're supposed to follow on every appointment. And sales is psychology, so it's like there's a reason why we go in a certain order and why we show them certain documents. And like, for example, were you involved in seeing the bids for the roof that you guys did at all?
So anything over like 5K, we'll always get 3 bids. And so once we have the 3 bids, then You'll
look at the numbers.
I'll take a quick look and then I'll make the final approval.
Cool. So if you were my client, I'd figure out a way to get somehow in front of you, even if I recorded a video of myself and kind of showed you like our process and what makes us stand out and it's different. Because I'm not going to be the cheapest price. We're going to be very competitive, but I don't want to be known as the cheapest company, the cheapest price, because that's how does that help anyone, right? If you're just known as the cheapest. It's about the value that we're going to stand behind the roof. We're not going to be there if there's a problem. If it leaks in 2 years, you can call a company to stand behind it, right? I think that the most important thing is our process. The way we evaluate is, are they actually following that process? We're looking at their conversion ratio, like how many leads are we giving them? How many are they closing? If we gave you 25 leads and we're not seeing any sales, I mean, we're paying $300 per appointment on average. So we're looking at those metrics. We're looking at those KPIs when we make those decisions.
Yeah.
It's not just a gut
feeling.
But
let me give you one more thing. I think this is very important. At least us as real estate investors, as business owners, there's sometimes the priority is cost and sometimes the priority is speed. So let me give you an example. With a roof replacement, and let's say, we realize in the summertime we need to replace this roof, but the next rain season is not going to be till December. We have 6 months. And so in this instance, cost is going to be the priority. And we're going to take our time looking at a lot of bids and probably going with the most efficient cost perspective, assuming it's apples to apples with what you're getting in terms of the materials and all that. Now, if we're launching a hotel and we're getting the punch list items of the renovation being complete, and we got busy season starting any moment, we got marketing photos, we need to come in and take photos and all that. And we got some punch list items that we need to complete before the marketing photos are done so we can bring all the rooms online and launch the hotel. Like, speed is the priority, and we'll pay up for someone that could come in tomorrow and complete the job. And so I think for you guys, identifying from the customer what the priority is it speed or is it cost? Like, let's say they need a roof replacement, there's a big storm coming next week. They're going to pay up for the person that can do it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And it's because of the seasonality too, right? So with roofing, you have to think about that. It doesn't rain all year in California, but it does rain every year in Southern California. People think it's sunny all year. It does rain. And so we have a speed thing where when it's raining and the customers need it now, it's like, hey, they tell me they're gonna have the same objections every time, right? It's like, hey, I want to get other quotes and talk to my husband or wife. This is, I need to think about it, whatever, right? And it's like, hey, there's rain coming tomorrow and we're going to have damage in the house if we don't take care of this. Let's get this signed today and we can send somebody out to put an emergency tarp for you later today and we can get this taken care of for you next week. Like that is what gets deals closed this time of the year. So you do have a huge increase in revenue in roofing this time of the year. When it's summertime, it's like, hey, well, we're going to get it done before the winter or whatever, right? But you have that urgency with the weather right now, which is really what keeps this business really strong. We've been successful though throughout the entire year, but it always spikes
during this time,
right? Well usually it slows down. Usually it slows down between Thanksgiving to after New Year's a little bit, but
because the holidays.
Exactly, because people don't want their roof done in the middle of Christmas or the middle of Hanukkah or whatever they're doing, right? And so January 15th, New Year's is over, rain starts coming. It's like January to April is like insane.
Yeah, it makes sense, dude. And then where are you guys getting the majority of your leads? Is it from online? Are you guys running paid ads, pay per click?
So we have our marketing budget pretty spread out. We do we do like print advertising, magazines. We do postcard drops like around the neighborhoods when we finish a roof. We do events that we sponsor. We do Google ads. We get a ton of leads from Thumbtack. You know, there's a ton of
And which one is your highest and best use out of all those channels
we probably spend the
mentioned?
most money on Thumbtack. We probably get
I've
the
never heard of
most.
that. That's a
It's like an app.
kind
It's
of a
an
handyman app.
It's an app that you go on the app and like you look for a handyman, you look for a roofer, you look for a plumber, and we've had a lot of success. So we've really built our profile on there, and we spend a lot of money with them. Like we've spent, I mean, I think it's a lot of money. We've spent over like 70,000 a month on there, and
And that gives you the most visibility. Like you pop up number one.
What did you say, Alec? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say Thumbtack.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's pretty big too.
Yeah, we have days in the last year, and we've grown since last year, like with our marketing and our budget and everything. Last year we had days where we had like 30 appointments on the board, and we're like, what are we gonna do today?
That's a good problem to have, though.
It's a great problem to
Yeah.
have.
You ever get out there and start hustling some
100%,
sales calls?
100%. And when you say that, like, what's the best use of my time? I think the best use of my time right now is to be out in the field and closing deals and showing my team like what's possible, because like a lot of it's the belief, and they have to like constantly see that and be reminded. Going out with like someone in my sales team and like helping them close a deal, that goes a long way, because now that sales rep feels very supported, and then you can let them go, and like I always see amazing results from them once you do that.
Yeah, and you know, if it's a big project, or it's a big client where you're like, hey, like if this goes well, we're gonna be first in line to get a bunch of other contracts out of it. Like, yeah, you showing up and showing face, shaking hand as the founder goes a long way. And you being the founder, having all the reps, the at-bats, the experience, understanding how the entire business works, generally speaking, no one's going to sell better than the founder, and that's just part of the game. And you're the visionary. And I think it also gives the client peace of mind if they're talking to you,
With you, when Brad connected us and then you hopped on the call, I didn't think it would be you, because I had sold for other guys before. So I don't think I would have bought anything if it wasn't you on the call. But you're like,
I normally don't jump on all the calls, but Brad Rice is a good friend of mine, and he made the connection. So I'm like, dude, I'll jump on. I want to meet you, bro. But same thing with raising capital. Like that's probably the last thing that I would delegate. Is whenever we have a wait list. So when investors want to go join our wait list to invest, and when we have an opportunity, we'll go to this list and we'll qualify, of course. And so if they've invested before, they're accredited, and they have some capital ready to go, then I'll jump on those calls and I'll walk them through what it looks like, working with us, what the exit strategy is, what the vision is, each of our hotels, the return profile, and then I'll give them an opportunity to ask any questions they might have. But I'm the founder, I'm the visionary. Like, people want to talk to me, man.
So is raising capital kind of like it's a pitch, right? Like you get the lead, and then you need to explain to them why they should invest their money with you instead of in Tesla, pretty much, right?
It's more so you're presenting an opportunity, right? Because you got to think that these investors are high net worth individuals. A lot of them are business owners, or they're high net worth W-2, like doctors, attorneys. And the best use of their time is making more money in their respective field. And so they have a time problem and a money problem, right? And so you're presenting an opportunity. It's like, hey, now you get to diversify out of the stock market and into ownership in commercial real estate, boutique hotels, etc. But it's passive income, so you don't have to trade your time, and you get tax benefits out of it. It's highly tax deferred. So you're solving a problem for them. They want to diversify into real estate, but they don't have the time to go learn it and do it actively, because it is a lot of work, especially in the hotel game. And so we're presenting an opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have. And so it's really just, walking them through all the hotels, what the projects are like, what the vision is, what it's like investing with us, and then obviously giving them an opportunity to ask any questions they might have. But, that's what it looks like. And it's really an opportunity, because I'll be honest with you, most people, there are, about 330 million Americans. I would say 99.9% of America grow up thinking Wall Street, 401k, maybe some crypto, but they don't know that it's a possibility to go invest in a lot of these commercial real estate buildings. Most of these buildings that you drove by in these neighborhoods are owned by, groups of people pulling together their money, right?
How many people live in California? Do you know?
I don't know in California, but I know it's the biggest state in the country, I believe. 39 million
39
people
million?
in California. Damn.
Yeah. So it's like you barely think how many like roofs there are.
Yeah, a
Right?
lot.
It's like, I mean, think how many real estate investors there are, like high net worth individuals here. It's like there's so much people right here just in our backyard. And we're obviously a business where we have to service like an actual property, right? It's like we can't sell to somebody in Japan and figure out how we're going to do their roof right now, right? You could technically, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like,
I see what you're saying. Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like for me, I'm like, I think there will be an opportunity for us also to bring in investors and as we continue to grow and expand. So far, I've done everything myself. No investors, bootstrapped everything. No help from family, no help from friends. Just took the first money I had, bought some leads, get a deal, and then reinvested it. So I'm super interested in the pitch and how you do that.
Yeah. Quinn, what would your one piece of advice be to someone listening to this that's maybe in their young 20s right now that wants to start a business? What would be the number one piece of advice for that individual?
Go out there and figure out what's the first step and do that. Just take action and just it's brick by brick and just start. Set aside some time. If you're gonna say I'm gonna do it, I mean, I would, if you don't do anything else, spend 8 hours a day. But if you're doing another job, spend 4 hours a night, spend 2 hours a night, but just dedicate that time just to deep work, like focusing on like make a rough draft of like, what do you need to do? What do you need? Like I took an Excel sheet and I was like, okay, I need to create a Thumbtack profile. I got to create a website. I got to get the license. I got and just start to chip away at that list. It's really that easy and it's going to turn into what it's going to turn into. And if you fail, that's okay. And honestly, like the more I think about it, it's like you have more and more failures as you grow and your part of your job just becomes like pivoting all the time and like solving problems.
That's really good, dude. Yeah, I always say, those who are fluid, those who are willing to pivot win the game. But like you said, there's 100 steps to go from, point A to point B. Think about buying a hotel, right? There's 150 steps in there. And it can look very intimidating, overwhelming if you look at all 150 of those steps together. But if you just focus on one step per day and just go take the most important next step every single morning when you wake up, baby steps, small steps win the game. And small consistency is what wins at the end of the day. Quinn, I appreciate you coming on, man, dropping so much game. Where can the folks get in touch if they want to learn more about what you're doing, Master Roofing, all that stuff?
So you can find me on social at Quinn Vincent. If you want to join our company, careers at master-roofinginc.com. We're always looking for new people to join the team, and there's a ton of opportunity to make money with us. I paid one guy over $70,000 in 1 month. So I mean, it's possible. There's a ton of opportunity. People need roofs, and we're gonna build the best roofing company in California.
He's Quinn Schilz, founder and president of Master Roofing. Appreciate you coming on the show, my man. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.